Hi everyone, good morning. That's so good to see you, and very obedient good morning ma'am, because these are freshers. By the time you reach your third years, I'll hardly have this auditorium packed when I come back for the event. But congratulations to all of you again, the new batch that has just joined in Geetam. I'm so glad that you're part of this campus. And I was here a couple of months back doing another session of Changemakers. This is the conversation series, where the idea is to try and get as many different people who have actually contributed in different ways to come into our campuses, to talk to students and share their experiences firsthand. The idea is that most of you get to ask questions, because I actually get to ask questions a lot as far as the guests are concerned. So make sure you put on your thinking caps, because we have here two very special guests who are also very dear friends of mine. How many of you are news ka kida, bitten by the news bug? Nobody follows news here.
Nobody reads news. Somebody
is very scared in raising her hand. You can raise your hand. None of you follows news here. Instagram. How many of you are on Instagram and following Insta Reels? For how many of you, your source of news is Instagram? And how many of you were actually following it on TikTok before you moved to Insta? Okay, no TikTokers here. So let me introduce the guests here today. I have Dhanya Rajendran. She is a very celebrated journalist who is the co-founder, the editor-in-chief of the News Minute. It was one of the first digital outlets that actually started catering full-time to news to all the 5 southern states. So far, you've had national news media with 1 or 2 bulletins, slots, half an hour of segments focusing on southern India. But here you had a complete stream of news coming in from every nook and corner of southern India. Before she joined the News Minute, of course, Dhanya had started off as a rookie reporter. She was also with the New Indian Express briefly. She's a student of the Asian College of Journalism, ACJ in Chennai. And, then she moved on to the Times Now group, where she worked as the Southern Bureau Chief, had a long stint there with an editor who at that point in time was celebrated by most of us as journalists, before, of course, he switched on to the dark side. But, and there, of course, in 2014, you saw the News Minute launch. I've known Dhanya for the last more than a decade and a half now. In fact, there was a time when the two of us would report together in Delhi. And from there to see Dhanya now, in 2018, she was actually named as the 40 under 40 entrepreneur by Forbes. She also won the Outstanding Journalist Chameli Devi Award last year. She's won the prestigious journalism awards. Let's hear a round for Dhanya, please. And with Dhanya, I have here somebody who's actually accompanying Dhanya for the first time on stage together.
After our wedding.
After the wedding. Before the wedding, they were not together. Vignesh Vellore. It's interesting, because when I asked Vignesh yesterday, Vignesh send a formal CV of yours, he told me, my claim to fame is being Dhanya Rajendran's husband. And when you look up on Google for Vignesh Vellore, actually that's the first thing that comes up, Dhanya Rajendran husband. But the point is that there is a lot more to Vignesh, and which we will be talking about. He had nothing to do with news till he met Dhanya. So that conversion happened only after he met Dhanya. He was, a technology student from the Queensland University. He's actually been a techie in his past life, but now he is the co-founder and the CEO for the News Minute. Thank you so much, Vignesh, for agreeing to come here and join us on Changemakers session. If I could start with you, Vignesh, because, I was very, of course, inspired while coming in here to start talking more about your own relationship with Dhanya, but I'm not going to do that, because we are not going, we are going to talk about your professional careers. Tell us a little bit more about your college life, your college days. What do you recall, some of the fondest memories that you have? You have a bunch of freshers out here who perhaps will take a very different turn in the next 7-8 years compared to what they've enrolled for right now. So what are some of your fondest memories from college?
So one of the biggest regrets I have is I didn't do my college in Bangalore. I always wanted to be a student in Bangalore and study here, but my parents felt that, it's better for me to just go abroad and get an education. So I left to Australia in 1997 to pursue a degree in international business and law. When I was in school, I did my 12th standard over here, and then one of the professors came and said the only 2 reasons that you go to college is to get your life and to get your wife. Okay, so that.
But you got neither from Australia.
Yeah, I got neither from Australia. So education is not just about college and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that you can do when you are in college, not just the studying part. The good thing for me when I was studying in college was I got into a lot of sports. I was playing tennis, I was playing football, squash. So that's something I really, really enjoyed. And every single time I look at a person who I feel has to join the News Minute or work in the News Minute, that's something I always ask them, right? Have you ever played a sport? Have you ever played a team sport? And any person who's played a team sport is something I actually feel, is a person who can handle challenges, who's used to failures, who feels that they have the potential to say that, okay, you can lose this time, but you always have the ability to rise up and, win the next time. So these are some of the characters that I always see. See, education is a very important part of life. My grandfather always said that you can be a taxi driver, but the first thing that you should do is you get a degree and then you become a taxi driver. Okay, so education obviously helps and has helped me a lot at least. There are a lot of things that I used to say the same thing, right? My 12-year-old son comes to me and says, what is the point of education? There's no point in maths, People just learn how to speak English. Why do you have to do an English language exam for that? A lot of points that he keeps raising, all the things like that. I don't have answers for these things, but I genuinely believe that getting a degree, helps you put your, feet on the ground. There's a lot of things that you learn in your college life. There's a lot of things that you will apply later down in line. I mean, I still, use the fundamentals and the basics of what I studied in college and stuff like that. I mean, negotiation tactics always, help when you're in college. I mean, it's been a long time. I graduated in 2000, so it's been like, 23 years now. So, but...
You're a different generation now altogether. But Vignesh, did you actually choose the field of education that you wanted to do, or was it something that your parents sort of asked you to choose?
No, I mean, I was very clear that I would not do engineering because that's something that I was not very keen on. I wanted to be a doctor. I was very keen on pursuing medicine, but my uncle is a doctor, and then he came and said that, you cannot become a doctor because you keep studying for the rest of your life. So the only other things which were left was, I was very keen on doing advertising. So I went into, when I joined college, I went into the marketing stream. But within the first year, I genuinely liked, the legal courses which I was taking, and then I moved on into international business and law. So, no, my parents had no thing, they just wanted a degree. They wanted some paper that they could show everybody in the family saying that, hey, see, you've graduated. So that's the only thing, yeah.
The ones who are pursuing medical, please don't feel discouraged. If it's a choice that you've made, give it your best. Dhanya, what about you? You, of course, spent your childhood, you were born in Palakkad in Kerala. So, how was your college like? And these were the days when apples and blackberries were actually fruits. They were not gadgets. We were born in simpler days. So what are yours, some of the fondest memories from your college days, or the best phase that you enjoyed actually?
So when Vignesh was speaking, I was wondering, what? He thinks about people playing sports when they join the News Minute, because then I shouldn't be the editor-in-chief because I've never even run 50 meters. Like, me and sports have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Therefore, I disagree with him. You can be a really good team player and lead a team even if you don't have anything to do with sports. So I'm one of those examples.
But you were part of a drama team.
But that doesn't matter. You said sports. So
it's not
we're
sports,
just like
but it could be
excluding
any
sports from this
activities.
conversation.
See, that is how diverse and inclusive the News Minute room is.
So
I don't mean sports, I mean any team.
see, now he's just like
Extracurricular.
Come on, Vignesh, you cannot give up at this point in time just because...
I never did drama and all that. She's the drama person in the...
So my college life is very different from, I don't know if, is anybody from Kerala or West Bengal here?
Kerala? I can see one hand there, one hand here.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
studied
one more hand here.
in Palakkad in Kerala, where I studied in a government college. So politics was a daily routine of our lives. We had very strong student associations in college. I think almost 5 years of my college went in strikes, and so dissent was a big part of my life while in college, which is one thing that I don't like when I visit colleges these days. Students are just made to listen, to agree, and I find that really problematic. That, you know, right from your, sometimes I think I'm the worst guest to call to speak to freshers, but I feel that from your first year in college, it doesn't matter. If you disagree with something, you have to voice it. If it's about a rule, about a certain disciplining tactic, about the way lessons are taken, about the way the teachers address you, it's very important that you say, I don't agree with the way this college is functioning, with the way things are done. So that was very much encouraged where I studied. But I think we took it to the next level. Like some days we would plan, okay, what to do a strike on. And then we would go and lock it's called Gherao, right? We lock the principal in the room. These days I find breaking news stories on channels saying the principal has been locked. It was a daily affair for us. I mean, principal getting locked was almost like every week, twice or thrice he'll get locked, and he was also used to it, just being locked in
I'm
the
glad
room.
the pro VC is not here in the auditorium right now. There would be reasons for worry in the room.
So that way, we are very aware of things. I mean, when you all say that you are not aware of news, I also didn't know like news happenings around the country when I was in college, but at least I was very much aware of the larger things. Because we would have strike for random stuff in Kerala. Imagine, I mean, after I passed out, the funniest strike was when Saddam Hussein died. I think there were strikes in colleges.
Oh no, when Pluto was
When Pluto was disqualified as a planet, there were school and college strikes in Kerala. So there are different things for which, so people are aware of what's happening around them, and they have a very strong opinion, whether you agree with that or not. So for me, college life was all about forming that opinion about things, about politics, about life, about how I view things. And I chose to study commerce because in school, because you asked Vignesh the question of, whether your parents asked you to study. I was into science big time in school, so I used to go for all this young scientist competition, and there was too much expectation. Therefore, I thought I should not live by anybody's expectation and went and joined commerce. The only thing I can remember from my commerce stream is debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Rest is absolutely no memory of 5 years what I studied. I somehow passed the course. Then I thought what to do next. So I knew that I should do something to do with people, to tell other people's stories. And by the time I was in college, I was anchoring TV programs. Like, there used to be this Chitrahar program where the top 10 songs will come and there'll be an anchor who will introduce the songs. I was one of those people. So I knew I had to do TV and something to do with human beings. Then my aunt said, why not journalism? That's how I started. I went for journalism course, but I chose the shortest course. ACJ was 9 months, rest of it was 2 years.
IMC from where I am was actually also 9 months. But I think Chitrahar is a complete alien concept here for these kids, except for some faculty members. Chitrahar was basically one anchor used to come, talk about a song, 10 songs used to play out. Every Wednesday, we would sit in front of the TV set waiting for Chitrahar with bated breath. Unlike today's generation, where of course, everything is on Spotify, and you also get scolded by Spotify for playing an old playlist, which is not updated enough, which scolds you by speaking aloud your name. So, Dhanya, when you realized that, of course, you went into journalism, but did you realize at that very start that you had the nose for news, what we call in the profession? Or early, initially it was about being on camera, being on TV, the excitement of it. It wasn't really about hardcore ground reports, telling people's story. How did that evolve?
I don't know. I think I kept learning on the go. So when I first joined, after my college, which is Asian College of Journalism in Chennai, my first job was in Delhi. Now for someone coming from Palakkad in Kerala to suddenly go to Delhi, it's like shifting to another country, right? It was very difficult, but I knew Hindi. Unlike Bengaluru students, I actually knew Hindi very well. So I could shift. A lot of Bengaluru students don't know Hindi. I don't know why. I have met a lot of people who cannot speak in Hindi. Yeah. So whenever Smitha says a Hindi word, Vignesh is not able to understand. Yeah, just saying that also. You said something key day, right? News ke key day. He didn't understand it.
News bugs, bitten by
Really?
news bugs.
so, so when I went to Delhi, the first story, I still remember, the first story was a crime story I was asked to go. Sometimes you don't have time to prepare in life. You think that you have a job and you have a lot of time to prepare. I was a rookie reporter, first job, first week. There was this very gruesome rape case in one of the hospitals where a nurse was raped by a man and he gouged her. She was alive, but he took her eyes out. He gouged her eyes out. And the nurse turned out to be a Malayali, a Keralite. So a lot of male reporters were there, especially from the Kerala channels, because it was a Malayali, everybody's covering. I mean, everybody was covering the news. But since I was the only Malayali woman reporter there, they found it convenient to send me to speak to the family and to the victim. So for me, there was absolutely no preparation. How to speak to a victim, how to speak to a victim's family. I was just directly thrown into that. And for many years, I was obsessed with following up that woman's case, though I never reported on it after that day. I did follow it up on papers that the Supreme Court, I mean, you can actually Google it. I think it's a Delhi High Court or Supreme Court. It was one of the first cases where the judge offered that she get married to that man. And she lost it at the judge in the court, saying, how dare you even make this suggestion? So I have followed that woman's story. I sometimes wish I could go back and find where she is or where she's living, but I've never been able to do that. So then that was the only one story which I think I did with some human angle, and then I was thrown into politics. Because if you're a Delhi reporter, as you know, you have to cover politics. And in Delhi, political coverage is very weird. Smitha is not going to forgive me for this, but it's like this, okay? 1 o'clock BJP press meet, everybody reach by 12:45, eat whatever food is there. 1 o'clock cover the press conference, get out, do your lives. 3 o'clock will be CPIM, reach at 2:45, they'll give you snacks, eat everything, finish the press conference. 5 o'clock will be Congress. So it's like a cow herd, they just keep going from one press meet to the other press meet, and the same guys will keep planting the same story with 20 reporters. Now it is 200 reporters. Like Prime Minister Modi is very concerned about Manipur, will be sent to 200 reporters at the same time. And everybody is breaking the news that Prime Minister Modi is very concerned about Manipur. So after a point of time, I couldn't take Delhi political journalism, so I actually ran away.
So it was also fate, of course, you had to come back, and this man had to come back from Australia to find both the life and the wife. Vignesh,
Yes.
were you into news a lot while you were a techie or before you met Dhanya? What were your sources of news those days, really?
Newspapers, complete newspapers, yeah. 2003, 2004, I think the internet broke out, and I think a lot of the legacy media houses used to upload the news, and then there used to be Rediff News and all that stuff. So because you're working in a tech organization, by default,
he used to go to
you had
Rediff
access.
News for.
Oh, that was a different
There
thing,
used to be
but,
this column where you take a picture with a celebrity and upload it. It was be really a big hit in Rediff at that time, 2000. So you could meet Sachin Tendulkar on the road. You'll take a picture with him and you'll put on Rediff. It was huge then. Yes. So I remember we went to some place and there was some actor who he did not know who it is. A Telugu actor, he went and clicked a picture, gave it to Rediff. I said, who is this? He didn't know, but Rediff figured it. So that's why most of the guys used to look at news then, to look at this column on rediff.com.
So one thing, just adding to whatever she said, not on the Rediff part, but see, I've met students from Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and all that. And invariably, all these people are genuinely interested in the news, right? They're up to date with the political parties in the in the state and stuff like that. But in Bangalore and Karnataka, that's always been missing, at least from a Bangalore perspective. So that's when you asked also that, people generally don't get to, I don't know whether it's a reading thing or an awareness thing, but I was also like that. So I was not, very keen on to what was happening from a political situation. Like I think one of the techie, I don't know who it was, but somebody said that Bangalore will function on its own, irrespective of which party comes to power or which party goes away. And when I met Dhanya, then only you realize like the awareness from a news perspective and a political perspective, which is integral to, you're living in a country like India, it's so large, diverse and everything like that. And we don't know which political parties are ruling the country or ruling a particular state and stuff like that. So that awareness only came after I met her, there's no doubt about it. But before that, I used to read the newspaper because we were forced in the house to read the newspaper.
But did you
That was the
find
only-
it suddenly weird when, your lives after your marriage, and you were married to a journalist who was a very driven, passionate journalist, and I know how crazy our schedules. For 20 years, I worked for 16, 17 hours a day. It's that crazy. So was it, suddenly a sort of a difficult adjustment?
I was riding on the high of journalism. I mean, you're sitting in a cubicle, you're sitting in front of a laptop for 8-10 hours of your life, and then you realize that at some point she was out there doing something which is a little bit more, I mean, not bringing people together, but at least making sure that people are aware of the situation that, a country is in, or a state is in, or a city is in, for that matter, right? So there was obviously I got to meet a lot of celebrities through her. Okay, I've met Sachin Tendulkar, I've met Lewis Hamilton, we've met Rafael Nadal as well, right? She didn't know who it was. Brian Lara, I've met. So all these people I got to meet through her. So that high was always there.
Everybody's wondering why am I meeting all these sports personalities?
Yeah, she has no idea.
Because I was just forced to go take these interviews. I didn't know who Nadal was and all. I mean, this is many, many years ago. So he was also a young player, I think. So the desk would give me 3 questions to ask. So I'd force Vignesh to come because I didn't know anything about sports, as I already told you.
Yeah, you asked somebody handicapped, no? Which one was it?
No, the golf. Do you guys know about golf?
Vignesh, will you just
Yeah,
bring up the lap a little bit so that the audio is clear? Who are the Rafael Nadal fans here in the room? Okay,
Not
what
bad,
fans are you guys of? I need to figure that out now because clearly there are very few hands going up for anything. I'm missing the pulse in the room.
Are you
I'll
guys
in fact get a
movie
mic
fans?
to some of you and speak to you.
I'm looking forward to meeting Deepika Padukone, Ranveer Singh.
See, now the giggles come in.
Who are the other people?
Now I know the pulse.
No, but what do you guys, what is it that you guys are interested in? Cricket?
Cricket.
Okay,
So
okay,
Brian Lara, he's met, of course, with you.
that we have
guys.
interviewed everybody, but then I wouldn't understand anything, but I would still do.
Of course, now they'll be more interested in a Virat Kohli and a Shubman Gill. No?
Shubman Gill, no.
Dhoni.
Oh, I've met Dhoni. I've seen Dhoni. I've not met him. No.
Okay, but now coming to the story of the News Minute, and I'll open up the floor soon for questions. So make sure you have enough questions. Don't think that whether the question is stupid, whether it's strange, please feel free to ask any questions under the hat. Because you were with a channel which was sending you off for prime coverage, prime reportage to these places. It was, of course, then a respectable network, a well-known network, and you quit. And the two of you came together along with another senior journalist, Chitra Subramaniam. You wanted to float this outfit, and you actually thought you'll perhaps start off an event management company. So what made you come together to actually start News Minute eventually?
So, as Smitha said, I was working for Times Now with the editor who she's just unwilling to name, which is Arnab Goswami.
The nation needs to know.
Yeah, wants to know. Yeah. So, I mean, I had a good time in Times Now initially. I worked there for 8 years. The first 6 years were good and fun, but soon it started not to be. Because I realized that when you are from southern India, and that time there were only 4 states, there was no Telangana, right? You still had to fight for your story. For example, if a mango falls in Bombay, it was way more important than an entire mango tree falling in some place in the south. If there's a flood in the south, I literally had to fight for it to come on a bulletin, but even a drainage overflowing in Delhi was big news. So there were a couple of instances which made me very, very tired because I continuously felt that I was not just a journalist, I also was a marketing agent for South India. As in, I had to literally fight for my 6-7 reporters in the different bureaus here, saying that this story is important. This has to go on the bulletin, because every bulletin would have 6 to 7 stories. By night, it gets reduced to 3 stories, right? That's it. They will discuss these 3 stories. So how, like, there was a Jayalalitha or a Karunanidhi which they were obsessed with. Other than that, they would hardly cover Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh or Kerala. Kerala is not even there on the national map. Nobody covers Kerala. If you watch,
unless there is a very gruesome political violence and leading to some death.
Yeah. So there were 2 specific stories which made me quit. One was a woman from Karnataka. Her name was Savita Halappanavar. Savita was a nurse in Ireland and she died. So she died because she had a very dangerous pregnancy, and Ireland is a country which follows the Christian law and it does not allow abortion. No matter how dangerous a situation the mother is in, Ireland does not allow abortion. And when Savita Halappanavar died, it was only after a few days that we got to know about her death because her husband spoke about it. At that time, Bal Thackeray, the Shiv Sena leader, was unwell and he was in hospital. So I'm continuously telling people in my desk that this is a very important story. There are protests happening in Ireland because of the death of a woman from India. And I have the family's interview, we have to put it. But no, Bal Thackeray is in hospital. Bal Thackeray is not died, he's just in hospital. Then 1 week they wait, Bal Thackeray does not die. So then they go back to the Savita Halappanavar story. Because they're just waiting, right? Bal Thackeray is serious. Smitha would have been outside, I'm sure. Bal Thackeray's hospital. But Bal Thackeray doesn't die, they come to the Savita Halappanavar story. They do the story for 1 day and Bal Thackeray again becomes very serious and he dies. So, I mean, Bal Thackeray dying is important. I'm not saying don't cover it. Anybody dying, a big leader dying is very important for that state. But 24 hours cannot be just that, right? There are other things happening in the world. Today, Ireland has a different law. Ireland allows abortions. Because of what happened to Savita Halappanavar, for years women fought in Ireland, women and men too, and that law was brought in 2 or 3 years, just 2 or 3 years before. You should read about it. This is about a woman from Karnataka who forced a change of law in Ireland. So I felt really exasperated by then that I had to fight for the stories from the South. And there was the other instance which made me quit is there was a man who was, I think, stabbed before this hotel Atria in Bengaluru. His name was Mahantesh. It all happened in 2012, end of 2012. So Mahantesh was murdered. There were a lot of stories made up that he was this big activist and he was a whistleblower and all that. Eventually we discovered that he was a whistleblower of convenience. Like when he wanted to screw someone's happiness, he would whistleblow on them. But that story went on for 1 or 2 months where all kinds of insinuations were made from, the Gandhi family may have killed him to whatever it is, which we did not have an iota of proof. So I felt really tired by then and that's when I decided to quit. Yeah.
How many of you, once in a while may switch on a TV news channel?
During Sushant Singh Rajput's death, did you switch on news channels?
Okay, which news channels were you watching? ETV?
What?
TV9?
Kannada.
TV9.
Okay.
Who else? Z24.
Ooh.
Can I have some mics in the audio, please?
Z20.
Did people say TV9 Kannada? Telugu. Okay.
Telugu.
Where are the mics here? Just somebody, would you like to take the mic and tell me why were you watching that news channel and not anybody else? Anybody, just take the mic, tell us.
I think they said NDTV.
Yeah.
Somebody said NDTV.
Yeah, somebody is raising the hand, waving the hand there on the back seats. Tell us, why did you choose one particular channel over the other channels?
E24, ma'am.
Why?
Because it's basically actors, they show the news about actors and everything going on in Bollywood and Tollywood, so E24.
Okay, that's Entertainment 24.
Yes.
But for news, do you watch any TV news channel ever?
I'm from Andhra, so it's basically ETV and Sakshi TV.
Is there anything that you like about Sakshi TV?
No, ma'am.
Nothing.
It's personal.
Okay, let me just take a quick voice from there. Somebody had raised their hands in the back rows. Yeah. Can you just stand up, please?
Yeah. Public TV Kannada and Republic India.
Republic India. Why would you watch Republic India?
Madam, basically I am a nationalist
Okay.
and I don't like the sold media. Thank you.
Okay.
No more questions.
Okay. Chalo. We'll soul media is one which actually stops asking questions where you need to ask questions to those in positions of authority and power. Coming back to the News Minute, Vignesh, we are looking at different generations coming up now who are not watching traditional news media. Whether it is Loud, whether it is Polite, whether it is a Republic, whether it's an NDTV. The crowds are fewer. So what did you think would be the News Minute's niche when you launched? Were you confident about it, that it would actually continue for these many years and reach a point where you could disseminate information in a different way?
So I think in 2013 is when we started discussing with Chitra Subramaniam, who was the other founder of the News Minute as well. And then we said we have to put something together. And because she already was from the news space, we decided that probably this is the best. I would have started some other tech company or something like that. But the clarity was there that I had to leave my organization and start something. And Dhanya also was very clear that she has to start something. So she wanted to start a event planning for specialized birthdays. What is that one? Specialized birthdays. So she used to cater to different birthday parties for kids and stuff like that. So she wanted to take that up as a career. So then we said we'll start the news organization, and we'll do it for a year, and then we'll take it from there. So initially we started as an aggregator. So we were not publishing our own news. We would take the news articles from different websites which were focusing on the South or writing or reporting on the South, and then publishing it. I think within 3 months, I think she came and she said, I think we need to hire our own reporters, because a lot of the content a lot of the news which is happening in the South was not being reported in any of the legacy publications. So then we hired, two, 3 people, and then we said we'll start like that. We gave ourselves a time of about 1 year from then on. And then when we saw the traffic started growing for the stories that we were actually publishing on our own, I think that's when into about 2015 mid, we decided that I think this is the way forward, and then we go ahead. Luckily for us, 2015, end of 2015, we were able to secure some kind of funding. And then we decided, okay, I think this niche that we've set up, which is focusing only on the South. And the advantage that we have is a lot of the people in the South also read in English, so it's a little bit easier as well, right? Otherwise, we can't run a website focusing on 4 languages, 5 different states. So then those things were at least completely clear. And then when we started deciding that, okay, there were ways that we could actually monetize this, I think by 2015, we were very set in our ways that this is the way forward. 2015-16, there was a lot of break into the video space. Everybody said pivot to video. We obviously didn't have the funds to do that, but we stuck to the text format. And this is
What
now
is
9
the
years,
daily
9 years.
footprint of the News Minute that we are talking about today?
So at our peak, we were doing about 500,000 visits? 500,000 visits per
Daily?
month. Yeah, on daily, yeah daily. So.
That's very impressive.
There's a lot of competition right now, and there's a lot of bigger people like Daily Hunt and stuff like that, which takes.
There's a South
traffic.
First also that started,
There's a
I
South
think.
First
So you
which
have
started.
competition now
There's
coming
a lot
up.
of competition. Yeah, Indian Express is now focusing a lot on the South. All those things are happening, but we will find.
But competition is not a concern at all.
Yeah.
Because you just do the stuff that you want to write about.
But you also have the first mover's advantage. When you take a new risk,
Yes.
that helps.
Yes. From a space perspective, yes, 100%. We have the first mover advantage. There's a lot of the legacy publications just focusing on the South right now. But I think we are set in our ways, and people understand. We get very happy when people write to on Twitter and stuff like that, saying that everybody else can publish a story, but we'll wait for News Minute to publish it, and then we'll figure out whether it's
or
right
call
or
us
not.
soul
So-
media.
so-
Yeah, there are those, of course.
And there's a lot of times that a lot of legacy television channels, like I don't want to give names, they print our stories and then they read it on air and then say exclusive to television and stuff like that.
Are there any questions at this point in time, please, by show of hands, where I start talking about the independence of media? Come on, guys, you're freshers. Just, be fresh in your approach. You don't need to think.
I watch TV and Telugu a lot, by the way. So I watch all
I have
channels.
question.
Yeah, please. Tell your name also.
Myself, Dr. Janardhan. Okay. What is your opinion nowadays news channels, everybody they are running behind TRP by leaving the societal values? Because if you take breaking news related to some of the sensitive issues like religion and all, where it will provocate many community people if you continuously publish that news through breaking for days.
Right.
So we can reduce that, but majorly their intention is instead of showing the news, maybe they are going for TRPs. What is your opinion on that? That's what I want to know.
Okay. I'll just take that one more question there. You have a question? Okay. Dhanya, you want to answer?
So let us, Mr. Janardhan, let us look at news, let's say 10 years ago. Let us look at news 5 years ago. Was it so much about religion, about communalism? It wasn't, right? So news also reflects our political realities. News reflects what our political system is doing to us. News reflects how our society is changing. Now, where you and I can disagree with how a news channel or a news portal is doing the news, right? That, is this the way to treat that news? Is this the way to show a story? But we can't completely stop showing it because that is the reality around us. When there are a bunch of people who feel like second-class citizens in your country, when they are being discriminated against, there is no way that news can keep away. But what we can question them about is, on whose perspective are you writing this news? For example, now this may sound a bit complicated when we speak about religion and, but there is a power equation, right? In everything that happens, there is a power equation. For example, 10 or 15 years ago, if I had reported a crime, I would have simply reported saying, okay, there is a girl who said no to a guy, so he followed her and he kills her, right? We see that a lot of times in the news, especially young women who are killed. And there was a word which used to be used in news a lot, saying jilted lover, right? The guy is a jilted lover, therefore he kills the woman. Now that itself is problematic. It doesn't matter if he's a lover, jilted or not. He's not supposed to murder the woman, that's it. So we have fought a lot so that these kind of words are not used in news. Because there is a power equation here. The man who kills has definitely more power, at least physical, to murder this woman. So in religion also, when you report, I think what needs to be kept in mind is who is more powerful, which is the community, which is the political party, which is the political system which has more power. I think where news is skewed is that they are not keeping that power equation in mind and everything becomes breaking news for them. So that is dangerous, but we can't stop people from reporting this completely because that is the reality around us.
I would encourage students, please, if you have questions about news, about journalism, or about anything else, okay, I have 2 questions here. Let's take the 2 young girls.
Yeah. Hi ma'am, hello sir. I came to know about your platform not now, in 2020, when Geetika Mantri ma'am wrote the article about Sushant Singh Rajput. Yeah, ma'am won the Siren Award also. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
And I'm so obsessed into these things. So right now, many students are going into the suicidal thoughts. So what are your opinions on that? So in India, that is an issue. So many minors are attempting to the suicides.
Okay.
So what are the reasons onto that?
Okay, what is your name?
Meghna.
Meghna. So the article which, how many of you followed the Sushant Singh Rathod coverage in whichever TV channel? Rajput, sorry. How many of you followed? Okay, very few. That's I don't know why, but yeah. But literally, people were living on that coverage. It went on for what, 3 months? Almost? Yeah, more than that. People were just covering it day in and day out, right? So we were not covering it that much. We would just do basic coverage as any other death of suicide that we would cover. And of course, how the ED and everybody else was misusing the case, right? So the article which she is talking about was written by my colleague Geetika Mantri. You should perhaps Google for this article. She was saying how this constant speaking about Sushant Singh Rajput's death can actually trigger people who are already suicidal. It is a very problematic coverage. There are hard guidelines for the media that you should not report on suicides beyond a point because it can also encourage copycat suicides. For example, when a Rohit Vemula dies in the Hyderabad University, what is the reason why we keep on covering it? We know that it is triggering for people, it can make people very sad, it can make people upset, but through Rohit Vemula's death, we are also questioning the problems in the system, right? But every time a student dies because they didn't get good marks or their parents shouted at them because they switched on the TV, it is very problematic. You should not cover such suicides because it can encourage other people. So what she is asking is that there are a lot of young people who go through many mental health diseases. Some feel suicidal, some have depression. I think it is important that organizations, colleges, schools start talking about mental health to children, to young people, to young adults, children, whatever it is. Because the other day in our house, our son locked the room because he had a fight with Vignesh. And Vignesh got so flustered that he broke open the door. It was a very small fight. But because we are constantly traumatized by these stories, right, of children locking inside rooms, you don't know what they will do. So it's very, very important that, I have conversations in my office. I know each and every person who has a mental health issue in my office. But we are an office of around 30 to 40 people, so we can do that. Now, a teacher here may ask, can I know the mental health issues of 2,000 people in my school or college? Yes, it is important that you know what each person is going through. Because if you do not know, then, like in my office, if there's a reporter who does not function well on a particular day, I can think that maybe they are having a bad day because of their mental health issue. So I have to give them some leeway. But that can't be used as an excuse all the time. But still, there's some leeway I have to give them, right? So it is important that the reason why big organizations, big educational institutions do not want to know about these things is because they feel that once you know what is wrong with a person, you may have to give them some excuses for their work, for their concentration, etc. But I don't think that's how the world works anymore. People are more cognizant of what is wrong with them, and therefore organizations and institutions also have to be.
You know, can I just add that from a news perspective, World Health Organization actually has very detailed guidelines about how to cover and report on suicidal cases. Unfortunately, most of our media, and today when we talk about media, mostly people think about TV. TV is the most visible face of it, but print is a large part. There is, of course, digital independent media outlets. Most of the traditional media still struggle or still choose to ignore those guidelines, which is extremely unfortunate. For whatever reasons it is, but it also stems from individual insincerity towards the issue. And that's where I think a news outlet like the News Minute actually deserves appreciation, not just because they are here, because the sensitivity, the empathy with which such issues are covered, where they go and talk to psychiatrists, to psychologists, they have medical opinion and voices in, and it's done with dignity to the individual. I think that definitely deserves an appreciation, where we need more responsibility, sense of responsibility, like, there's when it comes to covering this issue. You had a question there, yes, please, go ahead.
So my question is...
what's your name?
My name is Abhiram. Yeah. So my question is, what's your views on the issues happening in Manipur?
Manipur?
Yes.
Okay. And let me just take this question also. Here, can you bring it quickly, please, to the young lady here.
Hello sir, hello ma'am.
Hi.
I wanted to ask that it's been said that social media already virals the news and news reporters lags behind, like the case of Manipur. What do you think about that?
Okay. Maybe the second part, do you want to go with it, Vignesh, first?
What did she say? What was the question?
Social media
basically,
first.
traditional reporters have now become reactive. They are chasing the news which is already viral on social media.
What will I do? She'll take it. What will I do?
See, he's the business guy, so you got to ask business stuff to him, or sports, as you know. But the first question about Manipur, see, I am not a reporter from Manipur. I have never reported in the Northeast. So what information I have is also secondary, like you are. What I read, what I consume. I'm watching a lot on Manipur. I'm reading a lot on Manipur. But I have very strong opinion on one particular thing, which is the blackout of information, both on the media and done by the government. There was an internet shutdown. In fact, we had done a story looking at how many days Manipur had internet shutdown. Can you all imagine living without internet for 42 to 45 days? Where you cannot check your WhatsApp, you cannot go to Google, you cannot even say hello to your mother or father. Can you imagine a life like that?
I can see the one in the first row here, even checking the internet right now as we talk.
Yeah, 45 days to go without
All of you have been
internet.
checking it every 10 seconds in the, as we go ahead with this conversation.
Yeah, so imagine people there did not have internet for 45 days. A lot of people are asking, why did the video of those two women being paraded naked and then they were raped, it came out after so many days, there should be some conspiracy theory? Nothing. It's because people had no internet. They have no access to life. Now, there are a lot of you from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, I can understand, because some people said they watch TV9 Telugu, right? You should go check out this website called internetshutdowns.in. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana are two southern states which have had internet shutdowns. Couple of times. You should go see why. What were the reasons? Every time there's a communal violence, shut down the internet. That cannot be a solution to bringing law and order, right? Shutting down internet is your basic necessity. The Supreme Court has said it is your basic right now. The government cannot simply shut internet saying that then all problems will get solved. Did all problems get solved? People are living in relief camps today without food, proper food and water. There are people who have gone through sexual violence, through murders, families are suffering, bodies have not been found, found bodies cannot be buried. Was everything solved because there is no internet? So the government of India wantedly has blocked information out, and the media has sort of joined hands with the government to ensure that the information doesn't come out. When the Sterlite shooting happened in Thoothukudi in Tamil Nadu, please read up about it. I think for one day there was no internet there, but immediately the reporters in Tamil Nadu objected to it. People wrote about it, and the internet was back the next day. But who is speaking on behalf of Manipur? So I do have a very strong opinion that there has been an information blockade, which is the reason why we stand at this point. About social media breaking news first and reporters following, I completely disagree, because yes, social media, obviously a lot of things come through social media, right? Like for example, you're walking on the road tomorrow, a building falls down here. I'm not going to be aware of it sitting in MG Road in my office. So you are that person on social media who's going to put out that picture saying that the building fell down, right? You are the first point of information. I'm not taking that away from social media or people who use social media at all. But it will require someone with expertise to come and do interviews, find out why did the building fall? Was it because the foundation was not right? Was it because it was built on slum plan? Was it because the permissions were not correct? Was it because the cement used was of bad quality, right? So the story follows. The first break anybody can do on social media, because we are all users of the internet. We all have that power on us now. But to take that story forward, you do need expertise, which comes from a journalist, from a lawyer, from so many different people. So everybody has a utility. You as a student walking down on the road, seeing a building collapse, you have a certain utility of putting that story out. I as a journalist can come in second, but I have my own utility there.
But I think it's also important to remember that as citizen journalists, you do not have the resources and tools that trained or mainstream or old school journalists have to verify. Verification of any news that's going viral on social media is something where the conventional media should play a role in. Unfortunately, in a lot of places, it is failing.
Also,
Vignesh.
the Manipur story was first reported by the Print, which is a digital website, 3 or 4 days
No,
prior
actually,
to
NewsClick, a website,
yeah.
had it first. An activist wrote about this particular,
Incident.
where the two women were paraded. Then the Print wrote about it, but because we didn't see the visual, right?
It was only when the visuals came on social media.
Sometimes
that's when,
we are only shocked by visuals. Even if somebody tells you that two women were paraded naked, it never strikes you till you actually see those two women walking, right? Why are we so insensitive that we do not feel shocked anymore when we read that two women were paraded naked, and we need the visual for us? That is how much we are also impacted by things around us, right? That is why, for example, one Nirbhaya case becomes very huge, but there are rapes happening every day in this country. That's the problem. Unfortunately, we are also so immune to things because we read too much, we consume too much.
You know, and the other thing that I would just like to add here is that please remember, today, when you talk about media, you have the citizen's role, you have TV media, and TV media, you know, while you may say that they're nationalist, because they're not criticizing the government, you have to realize at the end of the day, the job of a journalist is to ask critical questions of anybody who is in positions of authority and power. And for journalists who are associated with a lot of independent digital outlets today, be it the Print, Article 14, Scroll, the News Minute, do your homework and you'll realize that these journalists were also asking equally tough questions of the previous regimes and previous governments, but were not getting labeled as anti-nationals. So it's not like overnight they have they've turned into haters of one government, because whether it's a BJP, whether it's a Congress, whether it's an Aam Aadmi Party in power, if we are not asking questions, then we have turned ourselves into public relations officers. We should stop calling ourselves journalists. Our basic right is to ask questions, which many journalists today are doing, still doing as honest foot soldiers, and many, of course, have given up on that basic responsibility. You know, which brings me to a question here, Vignesh, and I'll again go back to the students for the last set of questions. Because organizations like the News Minute, NewsClick, increasingly the kind of legal intimidation, harassment that we see. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you are hounded by tax agencies, you are drowning in legal tax work. How harassing is that? How daunting is that to actually do the basic job of journalism? Because you are on the administrative side of things. You know, you are having to deal with the lawyers, with the notices that are being sent to the company on a daily basis.
So my hair was jet black when I started. Okay, it's full white here. So I think, you know, with the number of cases that we've had, I think in 2018 we had a search and survey from the IT department. It took us about, we closed the case in 2021 with absolutely no additions. We keep getting a routine set of, you know, IT notices here and there and stuff like that. But from a legal perspective, see, more than the IT thing, right? IT is something that we can actually, you know, fight with and stuff like that. But then the latest that we are facing right now is from the courts of Karnataka. So every time you report a story on somebody, they will go to the courts and they have a standard procedure. There is one lawyer who goes and files these cases and they get an injunction done, and then you have to immediately pull down the story. And this is something, and you can go to court and you can keep fighting, and you can kind of fight for about a year and stuff like that, but you will never get the opportunity to bring back the story again. So those are the, and it's become very common now, right? You can just take somebody here, you know, you say, okay, I'll write an article, and that guy can just go to the Karnataka High Court and get an injunction done. See, from the tax perspective, we've already gone through it, so I think for now we are in a better space. But as an organization, we're always looking and approaching a lot of people to invest and become a, you know, investor in the News Minute. And we've met a lot of people in the last couple of months, and every single time, you know, when you say that you're in the media space, independent media, the first thing they do, they open it up, they look at the stories that you've done, and invariably they'll come back and say that maybe this is not a good time to invest in the media space. So that's when we started the membership model, right? Where we say that, okay, you pay to keep news free. We've tied up with a News Laundry, which is an organization which takes does no advertising and stuff like that. So we are relying on public support right now, right? And say that, hey, you guys come forward, become members of the News Minute, become members of Scroll, News Laundry, or whatever the independent websites are. Because a country like ours needs independent media. And yes, there is a lot of pressure, not just from a legal perspective, from an IT perspective, but they're also shutting down the, the so-called investors who can invest or who are willing to invest in the media space prior. Apart from that, in 2020, they passed a new set of IT rules where independent websites like ours, news websites like ours, could not take foreign funding. Prior to that, it was completely unregulated. Even if you're taking any small amount from any foreign investor, then it has to go through an approval process. So there's a lot of things, right? I mean, we know news channels news organizations which set up an organization to ensure that they would go into the TV space and then never got licenses and stuff like that. So yes, overall perspective, there's a lot of pressure, not just legally, IT and surrounding, but they've cut down a lot of the avenues that would have helped, independent media sites like us.
And survival of journalists today who are critical, who are vocal, and somebody like Dhanya, she packs a lot of punches. She minces no words. What she believes in, she stands for them, she fights for them, and she gets trolled abusively. She gets abused viciously, she gets trolled online badly, she has had to file FIRs because of spillover physical, in fact, threats as well. Does that worry you a lot, Vignesh? Do you ask her sometimes, can you just lower it, bring down the decibel, as an individual?
No, that's not a conversation we encourage at all.
We've never had that conversation.
My brother keeps asking me, why do you do this? Things are not going to change. Take another job. He's the only person who keeps telling me. I just want to add to what he said. When the session started, Smitha asked how many of you read news, right? And very few of you. But that's okay, your age, you don't have to read news. Why worry about all the crappy things happening in the world? But I hope in the next 2-3 years, as you pass out, you have jobs, start reading news, subscribe to independent media, because a lot of media houses in India now depend upon money which readers give them, because there's no other way to sustain. So we had an income tax a procedure for 3 years and it got over. Now another case we are facing is, how many of you are from Karnataka? You must be familiar with this case of Saujanya from Mangalore, from Dharmasthala. How many of you have heard of it? Nobody? Okay, 2 or 3 people have heard. Okay, so this is a young woman who was killed in 2012, I think, in Dharmasthala. And there was a guy who was arrested for it, and recently the court said he's innocent because he was innocent, is what everybody believed, including her own family. So we had done a story very recently. It was a video which got more than a million views across platforms about this young woman's murder. I'm using her name with her family's permission. Otherwise, I'm not supposed to use her name. You know that you're not supposed to name rape victims in India, but we have written permission from the family to use her name. So we had done a story about how this girl was murdered and what happened. And there is a small connection. At the time the murder happened, everybody thought that the Dharmasthala, which is the whole matha, right? That some people in the matha had a connection with the murder, but it was never proved in court. It never came to court. So we did a story on that. Our story is very factual, there's no problem. But Virendra Hegde, who heads the matha, has now gone to the court and taken a stay order, which means all our videos have to be pulled down now, all our stories have to be removed now. And that is never going to be put back because some magistrate or judge decided, okay, fine, pull down these stories without reading it, without seeing that we have never sensationalized anything. We have put out what happened. So this is a big problem we face, that the courts will simply give stay orders and pull down stories. There will be somebody who's sensationalizing it. There will be somebody who will write a proper story. We've had to pull down so many stories, it's not funny anymore.
And news is important. Yes, sir. You have a question here. And I'll also take the question from the person there.
1970 whatever. So that is normalized. And no one asked tough question to then Mamata Banerjee and all that why is happening, the post Panchayat election. The second part is that you would remember that Zubair, that alter guy, the so-called fact checker, he basically shared a video after Nupur Sharma and all that, which all know, right? And poor girl is hiding, cannot come out because he just created that, there's a frenzy, Tarsanji Dura type, because he shared a sort of miffed video which is not correct. And no one is talking about that. I've seen every liberal media supporting Zubair like anything. So I think it's fault on both sides. You can keep saying, why don't you ask tough question to government? You do. How many websites like Scroll and Wire has been shut down? None. They are getting funding. They are doing a wonderful job. One second. The second thing is that I see the intensity is missing. No one asked those questions to Mamata Banerjee, and Rajdeep says, oh, I will miss my Rasgulla if I ask anything. That's the level of independent so-called liberal media. I just want your views on that.
Okay, I'll take this. Can I just have that, the boy who had the mic? Yeah, please go ahead, ask your question. Is the second mic working? Quickly, we have another 10 minutes. And I want a student, please, not a faculty. We've already taken 3 faculty questions. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. My name is Bharatwaj. Can I just know that did you individually start this company or any others invested in your company?
Okay. So that's a quick answer I can give. We individually started the company. In the beginning, we used all of Vignesh's savings from his IT world and started the company. Then so he's basically a riches to rags story. And then
by
riches to rags and black to grey hair.
Yeah. So that is his story. But after, I think 1.5 years, we got funding from Raghav Bhel, who also owns the Quint. Raghav Bhel and Ritu, they funded us. Then that's the only funding we have had till now. We don't have any other funding. We have some grants from 1 or 2 small places. Like Google has given us 1 or 2 grants. We have a couple of grants like that. No other funding.
Thank you.
Yeah, and now, of course, News Laundry is... I don't know. I have not seen this Abhinandan's interview, so... Okay, fine. That he can come and justify for himself. I am not...
So I get your sense of the question.
No, I got the sense of the question.
Whether the liberal media is failing in its duty is what you're also wanting to ask. Okay. So I get it. We have a constraint of time. Let her answer because I also have to
so the question that he asked is, because you couldn't hear the question, is that why does the liberal media not question other governments in power? Now, I don't know about Bengal because I don't report from Bengal, but I have seen people reporting on violence in Bengal. Should more questions have been asked? Yes, for example, Kerala, which is a state that I report from. even around 5 years ago, there used to be major violence between the RSS and the CPIM, and the IUML used to come in between. So there are a lot of political deaths in Kerala, which people were questioning all the political parties. It was not just the Sangh which was responsible. The CPIM and IUML were also killing machines. It was called the killing fields of Kannur or whatever, and people used to do a lot of stories. Now, I personally believe that liberal governments, progressive governments should be questioned more than a non-secular government like the BJP, because you have to hold liberal governments more to account to the standards that they say they hold. For example, on a weekly basis we write and ask the DMK government, what do you do for the Dalits of Tamil Nadu? There are so many atrocities against them. You are saying you go to the temple. Tamil Nadu has seen a lot of these temple movements recently where Dalits are allowed inside temples, and there is a photo opportunity where the collector will take the Dalits inside the temple. After 1 week, what you see is violence against them in the village. Right? The collector goes off and there is violence. We've been continuously asking the governments. We are writing more and more about privacy issues in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Violence is not the only thing which we should ask questions about governance. There are so many things to ask about, and liberal media is asking. In fact, the same scroll that you're talking about, you go to scroll and see, they are the ones who have done the most deep reporting about how Telangana is a state which has no value for land which belongs to people, and they take land for government projects without any sort of proper guarantee. So there's a lot of deep reporting being done. We can't be just flowing with what we see as breaking news stickers. There is a lot of journalism happening, and you have to spend time to see those. For example, me, Smitha, when I was a reporter before 2014, I have reported the most on 2G scam because I worked out of Chennai. I have written a lot about Tatra scam, about so many scams. At that time, the same people wouldn't call me anti-national, including people in my family. The same people wouldn't ask me, why are you against the government? Why don't you also ask against this government, that government, etc. So we have done the job before 2014. We continue to do the job after 2014. Yes, I am not disagreeing with the fact that there are some progressive governments which are not getting enough flack as they should. I believe the TMC should be criticized more. I believe the DMK, the CPIM, the YSRCP, the TRS, BRS now should be criticized more. I am not disagreeing with that at all. I do think there should be more scrutiny of their work. But to say there is absolute no scrutiny is not right. There is a lot of good work being done.
I think Kerala media is really holding Pinarayi Vijayan accountable
exactly,
for
to the extent that CPIM
for
is
the kind of
clampdown
that he's doing on media itself.
Exactly.
They're really speaking out, and before 2014 was a different era when we actually could ask any question under the sun to the previous prime ministers. We've not had a prime ministerial press conference in 9 years in the world's largest democracy, which should be a problem for any society because we take pride in being a democracy. That is our strength. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Bharti. For a student or a youth, news is important or a current affairs is important. How does it help for the career?
Okay, and let me just take one question from here.
Myself, Akil. I want to know the doubt of how will be the life after the 10 years as the technology is growing nowadays.
And how will, maybe he's asking about AI impacting newsrooms and reporters.
Yes, thank you.
Is AI snatching jobs?
No,
not yet.
Not yet.
But apparently people are using it quite a bit.
Yeah, maybe for communications, from a media perspective, for organizations, yes, but not from news. I don't think they can. See, AI can only take past data and then interpret it and then write it, right? You can't go take a breaking story. It cannot predict something which is...
I mean, you can use it for good, clean English maybe, but then you still have to give the inputs, right? But I hear a lot of my friends who are in the communications, advertising, etc., they use chat GPT a lot, like even to send a mail. I mean, they're like, I want to send a mail to my teacher that I'm on leave today. It can now be apparently sent by chat GPT. So you all have your lives cut out very smooth. My son is starting to talk about chat GPT, which is very, very scary. Already he does not even know how to read time. He says, Alexa, what is the time? There's a clock right there, he doesn't look at it. Alexa, the only thing Alexa does in our house is, what is the time? Alexa will one day just run away. About
news and current affairs, I don't know.
Both are the same. But I don't think you have to know every, like for example, yesterday DK Shivakumar, who is the Deputy Chief Minister of Karnataka, said that there is not money for development this year because we have too many guarantees to give. Then there was a CLP meeting in the evening. Do you have to know all that? I don't know. I don't think so, because, but you have to know the larger things happening, right? That there was an election, that this is the party which won, that why is there a conversation about communalism? Why is there a conversation about women's rights, about gender, about LGBTQ communities? These are things that you should be aware of. Those are things that you should know, what is happening, what is not happening. The larger issues everybody should know. For example, one of the biggest debates happening in India now, there are two debates. One is the marriages. We don't call it same-sex marriages in the News Minute. We call it equality marriages, which is man wanting to marry a man, woman wanting to marry a woman, whatever is their gender and sexuality. There is a case going on in the Supreme Court. The judgment is about to come. That impacts each one of you, right? Each one of our lives. So that is something that you should know about. The second big thing which is being talked about is, should reservation be given for Dalit Christians and Dalit Muslims? These are people who left Hinduism, but the caste still continues in Christianity and Islam. Therefore, should they also be given reservation? There's a huge debate going on in India. These are things which will impact all of us. So you don't have to know every small thing which is happening, because you don't have time, and there is a life ahead for you to do all that. But you can know the bigger things.
Can I just also advise that also don't get into the habit of forming an opinion based on 140 characters of every tweet. Yes. You know, most people tend to form an opinion. Headlines are often meant to be clickbaiters. Without reading a copy, when you form an opinion about a story, it is problematic. You are young. So try and avoid that. If you really want to form an opinion, make sure you not just read that one article, but you also go to one or two more alternate spaces and read the alternate versions on it. But definitely don't form an opinion based on just a tweet that you see.
No, and even movies, like, because all of you follow movies, you know what Samantha's doing today. But when you read about Samantha, also read about what is an autoimmune disease, right? Because she has an autoimmune disease. So everything should make you curious. Even if you read about movies, that is fine. I mean, I don't think it is beneath or above that people are interested in cinema or people are interested in pop culture. In fact, I believe there should be more and more reporting about pop culture and movies, and to ask the right questions about it, because that is what people consume the most. They are least bothered about politics and potholes and whatever. They are more bothered about pop culture and movies, and it's fine. Which is also why your movies are trying to send you messages, right? Your movies are now either about Hindutva or about Islam, or it's about, what is happening to farmers. Tamil movies are always talking about farmers' rights now. I don't know why, but there's a lot of Tamil movies like that. So it's fine. Whatever it is, it should open your mind to new questions. Even if it's a movie that you're watching. I don't know if you went and watched Christopher Nolan's new movie. That means you read more about that history. Even if you watch Barbie, which I did watch, you read more about, what is the movement, why is Barbie hailed or Barbie criticized. So whatever it is at this age, just read more.
Get some expertise on it before you form an opinion on it. But, since you're talking about movies, Vignesh, I am told that you always wanted to make a movie with Rajnikant. Where does that project stand? Do you want to play the co-lead with him, or do you want to direct the movie?
Only direct. Yeah. But not with Rajnikant anymore.
Why?
I'm only looking at female actors.
Okay. Any choices
Samantha
there?
And stuff like that. No, I mean, I'm a big fan of Rajnikant. I used to watch all his movies. I used to do First Day. But after he joined politics, then I think that's when I said, okay, that's enough. Yeah. But
he's had enough of politics in the newsroom.
I will make a movie.
I will just take one last question. Yes.
Sir, this is Swati. So you have graduated from Queensland University, Australia.
Yeah.
So what made you found a company in India, that too, especially Southern region one? What made you inspire, what is the difference in the News Minute?
I mean,
to that extent, one more question, sir. How do you measure your success and reach of News Minute of present till now?
The last two questions.
Last two questions. I mean, I am from Bangalore. I've been born, brought up. Everything I know is completely Bangalore. I mean, after we got married, I mean, she was reporting on the South. I mean, she was the bureau chief for South India for Times Now as well. So it was very natural that, we would focus on the South. And like I said before also, there was not enough news stories which were coming out in the legacy publications.
I think the question is, why did you not have a job in a foreign country and you
you mean why did I leave?
Here?
Why did I leave?
Yeah, also, yeah.
I don't want to say something controversial, so...
Basically, his mother forced him to
Dhanya has knotted him up
The
in
short
twists
answer
now.
was my mother forced me to come back because she was very worried that if I stay on there, then I would find a white girlfriend is not right, no? White
Foreign.
girlfriend, yeah, foreign girlfriend, I would get married. So they said, no chance, you finish your degree. I didn't even stay for my graduation actually. Before that itself, they just brought me back. Yeah. Starting
But
a
his
company-
brother did marry a foreigner.
Yes, my brother got married to a foreigner, but yeah. Starting a company, I don't know. I've been very driven by my grandfather. So he started his own company, it failed, he started again, he'll fail, and then he started again, and now they run a very successful, business. Something, I mean, I used to sit with him and then I listened to a lot of the stories. He was not educated, I think his highest education was in first standard or second standard. He started working when he was in third standard, and he would roll cigarettes in the ITC cigarette factory because that's the only place you could get a job. And then he moved on and then he got a job in one of the biggest German companies called Bosch without an engineering degree. And you can't use the word invented, but he started something which was in machinery, it's called the lathe. And usually the lathe would only cut one piece at a time, but he devised a lathe which would cut two pieces. And the German engineers were just completely fascinated. So I was, brought up when I was very young. He would tell me all these stories, and somewhere down the line, I was inspired to say that, okay, I should start something on my own. But the other thing is also that you want to leave some kind of a legacy, right? I mean, you want your kid to look up at you and say that, hey, my father was working in a tech industry against my dad started something. May have failed, but he at least started.
The other thing is the wife didn't have any money. So
also
wife
didn't
wanted
have
to
any
start something, clearly no money. So, but our son is like, the other day we had to go to the police station because somebody gave a police complaint against me saying I'm a jihadi. So I had to go to the police station and both of us went and we came back and our son is playing the video game and he's like, you didn't get arrested. That's it. He had no other question for us. So I think the legacy we leave behind is also fearlessness. I hope, yeah.
And I think it's only when you're fearless, you take risks, regardless of failures. And when you're young, especially at your age, when you're starting out in life, it's important to take risks once in a while.
He asked a question, how do you measure the success, right?
See, there are many tools right now, I mean, which give us all these kind of analytics. I mean, from Facebook, we know what is the impression count, the reach and everything like that. From YouTube, there are completely separate data points. And Google obviously has analytics, so we know how many people on a real-time basis are reading us as well. So,
but I think success is not how
like
many
that,
people read. Success is how many lives you touch. Success is how many people have changed their thinking. For example, because all of you are movie watchers, I'll tell you one small example. We used to continuously write about bad movie scripts where the hero is stalking the girl for 2 years, 3 years, and then finally the girl is forced to fall in love, and that's called a love story. So we used to write about the stalking syndrome in movies, especially in Tamil. And there was a murder of a girl called Swati in the Nungambakkam railway station a few years ago. When we really wrote a lot about these movies, one superstar's wife called me and said, we really take it very seriously. From now on, he won't do any movies very stalking women. He used to be a master stalker in movies, and today he does not do any stalking movies. So I think those are the kind of impacts that you leave. Even if 5 people read your news, it doesn't matter. Who does it touch? It doesn't make a difference. And I think that way, the News Minute will leave some sort of a legacy that it did make people sit up and know news about South India, that I no longer have to be a marketing agent for the South, that the stories from here do reach people.
And for all of you, the new batch, because many of you are from humanities, from language studies, if any of you wants to go into journalism, into storytelling, always remember, I think, what will define your storytelling, what will define your journalism will be empathy and sympathy. If you're not able to listen to what others have to say and process it with empathy, you will never be able to tell a story genuinely. As I end this conversation, Dhanya, I had a complaint from Vignesh. He says that he really wants to do videos and editorials for the News Minute. You have been stopping him from doing that and making sure that he only handles the business side. Will you let him be a reporter on the field in the next few months?
No.
Why?
I had one experience with him in Times Now. Basically, there was a cricket there was a press meet happening and I was too tired that day. I had finished some reporting and came. I told him to go instead of me as a reporter. And then what happened is he went. It was Sachin Tendulkar's 35th birthday, I think. So he calls me, says, I got Tendulkar's interview. So I said, whatever, and I cut the call. Then he calls back and says, but I got Tendulkar's interview. Then I called my camera person and asked, did you really get Tendulkar's interview? He said, yes, Dhanya, Tendulkar went into the bus, only Vignesh saw him and we followed and we got the interview. So that day Arnab Goswami is screaming at the meeting, what is the story today? And he's screaming at everybody, okay? So suddenly there is an exclusive from Chennai Bureau of a Tendulkar interview. And then I told Arnab, boss, there is a Tendulkar interview, but there's a small problem. I didn't do it, Vignesh did. And then I listened to the interview. So Tendulkar is sitting in the bus. Vignesh is like, sir, say something. Tendulkar is like, I'm very happy to be here. Vignesh is like, but say something more, sir. This is the question. He asked. Thrice he asked Tendulkar,
I'm sure
say something
by now.
I was not prepared. I was not prepared at all.
A journalist is always prepared.
No, come on. I was just walking by and then he called me and said, do you want to ask some questions? And I said, I don't mind. I mean, I'll stand there, but you just keep talking. And then I said, hey, it's your 35th birthday, say something. He's like, but what do you want me to say? I said, just say something, man. Come on, how hard can it be?
So that's why he can't.
What's the one story you would really like to cover as a reporter? Would you like to cover the next elections, 2024?
That we do. We go
That
as a
we do,
family
yeah, we go, that
to
we
cover
do.
elections every time.
Okay.
I mean, I've never thought about that. I mean,
Maybe the next Nolan interview.
Nolan, yeah, I was just thinking
Yeah.
that, something to do with films, yes.
Okay. I'm going to end the conversation here, and I think, with all due respect to, of course, he made some points about liberal media being illiberal, about fact checkers running on agendas. It's true today that I think news is as divided, as polarized as our societies. Our newsrooms are divided. We are vertically split. The danger also lies in us as audience, readers, tuning into echo chambers, where we are basically tuning into the news outlets, organizations that are sort of fitting our narrative that we follow, our ideological beliefs, and until and unless we don't break free of that and be able to sit down and talk to each other, not talk at each other continuously, it will defeat the purpose of journalism and it will weaken the roots of democracy. So that's all that I'm going to end this conversation with. Thank you so much, all of you, and all the best for your future here. Can I please have Mr. Vijay Geji, the resident director, to come up and felicitate Dhanya and Vignesh. I know, we have to...
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.